Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night at whatever time of day you are tuning in.
Good evening. Good night. Hello, good morning.
Welcome to the Dialogue Podcast,
AKA the D
with
Tina
and Marie.
Oh, I like that. All right.
You have no idea how long it took us to get that intro down.
It feels like it's been so long. It was just...
That's how hectic this week has been, at least for me. I forgot the whole intro.
I forgot. We've been doing this now for a while, and to forget, like, it
used to come natural. It's been a lot. It just seems like every
we were
week
just itching to talk to each other, so we just got into the talk, and then we were like, wait a minute,
did we miss something?
Did we miss something? We missed something indeed. Yeah, so before we go off and forget, let us just continue with our intro and start our prayer, if you will, Marie.
No problem. Let us remind you that the opinions expressed in this podcast are our personal opinions and must not be construed as representing the opinion of any institution with which we are or have been affiliated with in our professional lives, aka do not come for us.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Yes. So
I guess we're just going right into it, pretty much.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have a whole nother introduction.
Yeah, we're saving all of the sappy greetings for later. We got something to talk about.
Yes. Hello. I am your co-host, Tina, here to introduce you to Introvert Exploration 101, how to re-enter social settings.
And not only are you the co-host,
but I'm also the president and a client. It might be a bit hard for you guys to believe, but to an extent, I would say that myself and a little bit of Marie are
a lot of bit.
Yeah, a lot of it. We tend to be very, I can't say very and then say only a little. We tend to be
Why not?
introverted because they to say you're a lot of something but a little is contradictory. We're a
lot of bit of introverted.
A lot of bit.
Summed up that entire sentence. A lot of bit of introverted.
We do come off a bit introverted.
For me, unless you know me, I probably won't talk whatsoever to you. Unless I'm being polite. You walk by, you say hello, you greet. If I see you might need help, I might assist. But socially, you won't get one or two out of me.
It took me a long time to break out of that as an adult to talk to people at my job. I was one of those wait for them to talk to me first type people. I also found it especially hard if I had gone into long periods of seclusion. Like, that's the thing. I go into periods of seclusion where I don't talk to nobody. I don't talk to my family. I don't talk to my friends. Not because I don't like them. I don't want to be around them or anything like that. It's just, I just need a break from the outside. And it takes some time. I think the most I probably would say to my friends is, hey, yeah, I'm alive. What's up? You good? Yeah, same thing every day here over in Tina's world. Same.
You talk, you seclude, I run. I had a bad habit of when things became overwhelming, I take off.
Where do you go?
I usually tend to go find water. Water or nature were my safe spaces. I'd go, I would I mean, nobody knows, which was the bad thing about it. I would just take off and calm down or collect my thoughts or balance myself and then return as if, nothing really was wrong. But as I got older and gained more responsibilities and commitments, I had to stop doing that pretty much.
Yeah, for me, it was anime and movies and books that
music.
I didn't even finish that. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Books,
that's all I had.
Usually around science fiction and romance and science fiction romances and and music. I usually have all three going at the same time.
I believe it.
And people's like, how do you understand what's going on? How do you do that? I'll have an anime on my television or a movie on the TV, and it's at a low volume, but like it's loud enough for me to hear. Then I'll have my radio, whatever playlist that I feel at that moment is playing. It's usually about 150, 200 songs probably on that list, depending on what day it is, but it's usually my Saturday morning playlist. That one is fire. That's fire. It goes through a lot of emotions. And I'll have that playing, and I'll have that playing low enough that it just sounds like ambient noise in a cafe or something like that, but it's loud enough for me to hear it, so I know what song is playing. I could be in the middle of my book and be like, that's my jam. But then I'm also reading a book.
The year is 2015.
And I've had people walk into my room and be like, how? What are you doing?
Yeah, it absolutely sounds like you are just blocking out life.
Everything. I'm not listening. I'm not hearing. I mean, I'm hearing, I'm listening. I get everything that I
You're
get.
alert.
I'm alert. Like nobody's running up on me. I hear it. I just like, okay, let's say for example, I'm into my book. But I have all these things going. Can you imagine? It's a fictional book, but it's about everyday characters. So in the book, someone's like, as the TV was playing in the background, boom, my TV's playing in the background. It adds to or they're sitting in they went to a cafe. As they're sitting in the cafe, their favorite song came on, blah, 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 blah. Song's right there, baby, we do it.
Quite the creative person, I must say.
So it allows me to submerge into the experience of my book, or sometimes even the experience of the TV show I'm watching or the music I'm listening to. Some of the songs that I even like have been remixed to have ambient noise in it, like rainfall sounds of
I can't knock you for that. I actually might try that one day.
Like some of my favorite songs. They're not in English, of course.
Of course.
I like music from all over, but some of my favorite songs I found have been remixed because I kind of like that lo-fi hip hop type of music where it's just kind of low and just a groove. Mm-hmm. And then if you like mix it into this noise where it's like, okay, you sitting outside and there's a thunderstorm and you're listening to one of these nice little smooth jazz hip hop ones, it hit different. It hits different. Like even if you would take one of your favorite jams, let's just say you take one of your favorite slow jams and you add your favorite outside noise. So let's say it is like a thunderstorm or a quiet night where you just hear the animals and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Or if you live in the city, the sound of traffic. As if you were sitting outside on your balcony or you had your windows open and you live in the city, so you hear the sound of traffic.
To me, it just sounds like you're creating your own, like, what do they call it? The drama podcast. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you something. Fun fact, for those who do not know, Tina and I actually met a number of years ago. And as we're sitting here speaking about how introverted we both can be, I only became friends with Tina because Tina would not leave me alone. I was the new person in a church, I guess. And yep, I won't say pushed.
More like dragged.
To a youth event. You're a youth, you need to go. So I went, but I don't have no problem kind of chilling by myself, and that's what I was doing. But I guess Tina had her own agenda, and she was going to make sure not only did I participate, but that I met people and I talked and I came here and I came there, and Tina just absolutely did not leave me alone. But no regrets. Wow. Because what? We're here together now, X amount of years later, doing a show. So,
wow.
So much for being introverted.
Look, I have my... Look, okay, listen. That is a situation in itself, okay? That environment did not allow for introvertedness to be tolerated. So
it worked quite well for me.
Did it? Did it really? Because apparently it did not.
Yes, for you, you were the only one.
So like I said, it was... Did it work? Did it? Did it really? Because once I found you, there was no longer.
And today's topic
is okay. So imagine, as you will, the place I've created, my safe space that I have created for myself that we were talking about, and you're in there for X amount of days, months, maybe a year or
Gracious,
two.
In a safe space?
Yeah. I was in there for a while. Imagine trying to have to come out of that and function in a social setting. It is, for me, it causes anxiety.
Everybody has different triggers.
Right. For me, it caused anxiety. And I did have to lean on my family and friends a lot. Now, understand, it's not that I am, like, I don't know how to do things. I can do it as long as it didn't involve me talking to somebody I did not know, which is weird, being that I'm on this mic talking to a bunch of people who I do not know. But again, I haven't been in that cocoon for as long as I had been at certain points of my life. So at this point, I was in there for a good year, unbothered. At all. And then, then it was like, okay, all right, and now I have to go back outside and function with people that are not family or friends.
And re-enter society.
Right. And that was very difficult for me because I didn't like to talk.
Well, what are the details about re-entering society? Is it not possible to remain in your safety bubble and still be amongst people? It's like being a part of the world but not being a part of the world.
I'm sorry, can you reiterate that question? I didn't understand the question.
What are the details on you re-entering society? I guess I say that to ask, can't you still be what your level of seclusion means, being within the four walls of your home, and that's it. Because then you have like mental seclusion to where people are out here each and every day, but they ain't here each and you know what I'm saying? So I guess I'm asking, what are the details of your seclusion? Because I know I definitely have some days to where I'm within my bubble, but I'm still out in the world. You can definitely tell a difference with me.
I was cut off, not in.
When you retreat, you retreat to home,
right?
And once you're home, you don't necessarily go outdoors. You don't go nowhere. You don't have contact. You just.
I went to the grocery store. I'm just saying when I'm there, at this point in time, for some reason, I was just indoors. I was in my home. I was in my space. If I had to go out, I went out. Usually, if I wanted some food and I wanted to cook or I wanted something besides the Chinese food that would be there within the next 5 minutes, yes, I went outside. I went to the grocery store. I did not like going by myself, and my friends and family could not understand why. You live down the street, go walk over there and go get it. And I was like, well, first of all, I don't like walking from a grocery store to my house with a whole bunch of groceries. If I'm doing grocery shopping for a month, that's not an easy feat. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going out just to go grab a piece of bread or like the meal for the day, because, you know, we don't shop like that in my household. We shopped for the month.
Right.
And we ain't going back out to the grocery store until a month later. So yeah. But besides from that, I was pretty much indoors. One other reason, because sometimes some of my ways of retreating is to drive. I like to drive by myself, and I just wander in my vehicle.
Okay.
So that's another way. But at the time, I didn't have my vehicle, so I didn't have that kind of access to just get up and go and just ride out.
Mm-hmm.
So I did stay within my home. And what was the other part of that question? Because you said give you the details in which this was.
Well, this is details.
Right.
Just finding out what your level of seclusion may be.
Yeah, I guess it was kind of on like a shut-in type thing. Like I was home. I was recluse home. I was at my house. Barely picked up my phone as per usual. But, you know, you knew where I was because I was home all the time.
Because they're different levels, as I'm hearing. I can say, like I said, for me, in those times, I may stay, like, in my room, but I won't necessarily stay home as you would. If I do have to be out, have to work, have to go out, what have you, then that doesn't mean that I have necessarily left my safe space. I would still be within a safe space mentally. I guess I just start to turn off or block different things. Like you won't, I'm not on my phone. Well, I could be on my phone, but I'm not talking on my phone. I'm not texting nobody back. I just kind of went ghost. I can be at work, but if the job allows for headphones, I got 2 headphones in. I block out everybody. I do my work. I get in the car, more music, block out all traffic on the way home, get home, probably more music, and just tune out everything at the house until time for bed. You know, so I am more of a, I guess, mental seclusion. My next question to you would be, what causes you to retreat? Before we could even get into the topic of entering society, because I personally know for you tend to retreat every so often. What for you, I know what can trigger me. What for you causes you to kind of just shut down?
That's a really good question. It could be anything. It could be emotional. It's usually, this is where my it's a mental and physical seclusion that I go into. And usually remember from our last conversation where we discussed like how you handle certain things, you pick up and you move and work things out as it goes on. Where
and you may kind of plan and sort it out.
I stop. It's
okay.
Like, okay, we're going to stay right here. And we're going to plan this next step. And however long it takes to get to where I want and the right time for me is where I'm going to be. Because if I move before I'm ready, I will get anxious and I'll be right back to square one.
So would it be fair to say transitional periods in life, may cause you to go into seclusion.
Yes. There's one coming up. I can feel it. There's going to be a change, and then right after that change is going to be a mental seclusion, not so much as physical, because the sis still has to work and it still has to, function and provide, because once that change happens, I still need to function, but anything extra that I would normally do, converse with friends, eat out, all that, might have to shut down.
So you can feel it coming.
I'm planning for it.
What does seclusion do for you?
What it does for me, it allows me to put things in order. It allows me to get what my next steps were. I think, all right, for this was, I think, probably the biggest and the longest seclusion I found myself in. I moved, got into a fight with one of my best friends.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my job. So, yeah. Starting at, let's say the date was November 1st, lost my job. November 3rd, got into an altercation with my best friend. November 4th, was told I needed to be out by November 15th.
Wow.
Found myself a place that I could afford on unemployment November 9th. Moved in November 13th. Used the money that I had, or my last check or whatever have you. Use that for, first, last of security. Found a place, luckily, that I could afford to buy food and a place over my head and electricity and all other stuff on unemployment. Moved there, packed all my stuff in my car, moved because I had no money to use anything else, and just moved. That's it. And slowly I went and got I got my family to help me get my bed from my parents' house. And, actually, no, my mom went and bought me a mattress and a box spring. Thank God. Some friends decided to move, so whatever they didn't use use at their house or their new place, they left at my house. Thank God. I can cook and clean on my own. I had a cat. We were good. So that started that seclusion. So now I have to replan out what I'm about to do. I'm on unemployment. I can only afford so much. I could take this time and I go to school. I went to school for massage therapy. Got sick halfway through that. Stopped. Then had to rethink, what am I going to do? Should I start going back to school again? Should I start doing this? Should I start doing that? Took a break, I think, and traveled to New York to visit family. Stayed there for about a month or two. And then eventually came back. Figured out what I was going to do again. Went back to school again. Oh, wait, no. Didn't go back to school. Stayed in my seclusion and then planned out what I was going to do next. I planned out how, because literally right before I moved into my place, my license expired. So therefore, now my driver's license is suspended. And in order to get it back, you got to put all this extra stuff on your insurance that I could not afford. So my car is sitting out in front of my house, my new place, for a certain amount of time until I had to get it taken over to my relative's place and put in their garage, where it sat for 3 years. Because I had to now figure out, how am I going to get all of this together and get my life back on track. So it took me about a year, maybe 2, of figuring everything out. But when I finally did move, it was a very quick move because I had thought about every aspect that I could think of. I did rely on family and friends. Like, it wasn't something I could accomplish all by myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew where I could ask, who I can ask, and if anything happened, this is where I could go. So once I had figured all that out, I eventually found a job, found a way to get to the job without getting a car, made that happen until I could afford to get my car back. So I think I was probably in this whole situation for like 2 years in that period of seclusion for about 2 years.
But during those possible 2 years, you were still out and about, whether it be to work or to school.
No. I was going to school prior to the seclusion. And then when everything happened, that stopped because I couldn't afford it.
Okay.
And then once the seclusion started for a little bit, I tried to go back to school, and then I got really sick, and then I had to stop again. So, once I stopped school again, I was just really lost, and I couldn't figure out what I was going to do, what was going to happen next, because I couldn't even go to a doctor or a hospital. That's how sick I was, and I was by myself. I didn't call anybody. I had a few family and friends that, yes, they did come and check on me. They did come to the house. They did look about me, because they did know I was sick. But other than that, I was by myself. I had a phone. I had internet. Sometimes I didn't have a phone, but I had internet. So if you wanted to contact me through any of those things, you could contact me through my internet. But it was just me and my computer, and that was it.
Your seclusion sounds a lot like just hard times.
That isn't even the hardest time that I've ever had. So,
not saying that it was.
So to me, it doesn't feel like hard times, but also I do count my seclusions as hard times, because once I've fallen on a hard time, I need to plan what I'm going to do next, because whatever happened just happened quickly. And now I need to figure out what would be the best thing for me to do next. And I'm not going to just waste my time and try this, then try this, and then try this. Because had I been trying all these things, all those things would have affected something that I knew was for sure.
So would it be safe to say that your seclusions may be triggered by transitional periods in your life?
Yes. Yeah.
Every time you transition, you seclude.
Because I like I said, I know some things are planned. Some of them can be planned. Some of them cannot. So just like how I said, I know that there's going to be a transition for me soon. And once that transition happens, I am going to go into a seclusion, because now I need to reposition myself in that new change.
Well, I mean, I get that. I guess I'm asking to say, are you able to pinpoint what makes transition so difficult for you?
No.
Okay.
No. My transitions have never been wanted. I guess you could say. They were forced transitions. Usually they're forced, because they're outside of whatever I've already had planned.
So everything that goes against your plans may lead you into seclusion.
Not everything. Not every little thing. Something significant has to change.
Well, when I say transition, I'm not talking about, it rained today, it's sunny tomorrow.
But a simple transition,
like going from one life phase to another life phase.
Right, but a simple life phase, sometimes simple life phases, like you're moving to a new position or a new job. Those are changes. Those are life changes, but they're not significant enough to be like, oh, I got to rethink my whole life.
Well, for you,
those are simple changes. I don't have to
you.
I don't have to rethink my whole life for those kinds of changes.
I get that. I just want to acknowledge the fact that may not be so simple for someone else.
Oh, okay. Okay. I get, all right, now I'm understanding where you were going with that, because I thought we were talking about for me, and and that the life changes cause me to go into seclusion. Not something as simple as that. Not as something as simple as a loss of a job. If I know I can go and get something else. Like, there was a lot emotionally involved, there was a lot physically involved, and there was a lot financially involved. Those three things have to be going on at the same time and hit all at the same time for me to feel enough anxiety and feel overwhelmed enough to say, I need to go sit down for a while.
That's the next point I was going to say. Okay.
I also just want to say those weren't actual dates. It was just an example. I could try, because I remember there was a holiday that was about to come up and I needed to move before the holiday.
Got it. I was saying, for me, what triggers me is definitely when I get overwhelmed. Whether it is my own doing or life's doing. Mm-hmm. If I get so overwhelmed that I find it difficult to function, I'll check out for a minute.
But see, I feel like a lot of things have to happen for you to feel like you cannot function. Me, just the thought of not functioning is a trigger for me. It's not even like I can physically not do it, because a lot of times everyone looks at me as like, hey, in the meantime, you could be doing this. To me, in my head, it's like, no, because if I'm doing this, this is going to interfere with this, and then this is going to interfere with this, and then if I can't do this in time, and that's all going on in my head. It doesn't appear that way on the outside. On the outside, I am sitting still, watching, listening, and reading something that is nothing to do with the life that I'm living at the very moment. But in my head,
100 miles a minute.
We're at it. We have repositioned every person in my life to a position on the checkerboard where it's going to be the next jump. We playing Chinese checkers, we playing regular checkers, we playing chess. Whatever game that I'm going to have to do some jumping, that's where I'm in. Double Dutch, whatever.
Based off of our last show, I multitask a lot.
Yes, you do.
So I in the past have found it, I won't say easy, but I've adapting to my environment, which has played for me and against me in a lot of different situations. So when something changes, I immediately attempt to think of whether it's a resolution or something else to change with it to continue going. My whole motive is to just keep going, which itself has played against me. Like, don't stop, just keep going. Oh, you hurt? It's all right. Limp to the next side. Oh, you still going? You can't make it? You're thirsty? It's okay. There's water at the end. Keep going. Just keep going. You can't stop. That has always been my mentality. And in a way, I watched my mother just keep going.
Y'all
and I've kind of picked it up from there.
Just keep swimming.
I picked it up from there. I know for sure where I got it from.
I'm like, where? He ain't gonna, he got one fin. He don't have it. I am tripping. I am Marlon. I am him.
The older I've gotten, I can remember telling my mom things like, well, don't just sit down. Just relax. Just
told
take
your
a
mother
minute.
that?
Right.
Wow.
And the older I've gotten,
I've been telling you, sit down. Sit down. Let's think about this first.
My whole thing is not just keep going. But then
like, nope, don't want to think about it.
I keep going to the point where I will burn myself out. And that's when my seclusions kind of are forced. I have forced seclusions where...
And planned. Some of them are planned. scheduled.
Some are becoming planned. Yes.
Yes, you have
They're
to.
becoming planned
You're
because I'm on
scheduling
a whole.
point to, okay, today I will fall apart between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please don't come for me. I am falling apart around this time. Maybe hit me up around 8:45. I might be able to return your text.
Even in that context, they're still not planned because in my mind, see, it's like the opposite for me. In my mind, I'm still trying to find all the workarounds to be like, all right, even if I just sit down for 5 minutes, I can still manage to do this, or I'll just do something lighter to get this done, and then I'll go back to this and go do that and go. So I'm still working in my mind, but it's until everything just breaks. And I literally cannot work anymore.
See,
Is what lands me in a spot of seclusion, or I will build up so much because in those times of going from point A to point B to point C to point D, and I'm picking up whatever baggage along the way that wasn't fixed at that time, or whatever this, or all of that gets stacked up. I literally won't stop until it all crumbles down.
and to me, when I watch you do that, I admire and I fear for you at the same time. Because
that is a very perfect way to say that.
I admire it because I was like, look at you go, even though something didn't work out. Then at the other time, I'm like, she needs to sit the hell down and think about this because she's doing too much. But then it's like, because like I said, before we get to the point where Tina has completely crumbled, I have already gone into seclusion, because if I completely crumble, I don't even know what that completely feels like. I don't know what that feels like because I don't allow myself to get there.
Which is a good thing.
I can't allow, like, the way my anxiety works, I can't allow myself to get there, because if I get there, I don't know who is there to pull me back, because I won't be able to get out of that. That's I'm probably going to have to be put into someplace where they'll have to watch me or something like that. I don't know what, like, everything to completely crumble. I know what it's like when things don't go my way and having to work through those. I can deal with change. But if it gets to the point where it's overwhelming, or I feel like, whew, wait a minute, if I'm moving too fast, hold on, wait a minute, I'm making a decision out of emotion, or, oh, wait, I don't really want to do this. I don't want to do this. Let me sit, let me think. How else can I play this? And people are like, oh, well, what about your peace of mind? What about your this? What about your that? And because I have that ability to, wherever I'm at, to make that seclusion and check out, I can put up with a lot of other things. But like I said, the problem is how people perceive it on the outside. On the outside, it just looks like I don't care. And that's not the case. Mm-hmm. But to get to the point of our discussion or our dialogue is, how do we deal with coming out of that seclusion? I had a problem after a prolonged amount of seclusion with dealing with other people. I got a job, but I barely talked to people the first year I was there. I literally sat in the back of the office by myself in my own little cubby and barely talked to people outside. Like, good morning was difficult to me. You walk into the elevator, I made sure I got to work enough times that I was by myself in this elevator.
What was happening for you mentally when it came to speaking to someone?
I just don't like speaking to people. it's exhausting to me, because every once in a while I have to be reminded that there's a certain level of, I guess, decorum or a certain level of politeness that is required in dealing with in social situations. I can't help it. It's drilled into me by my grandmother, who has a certain level of things need to be done properly, and if in order for it to be proper, it has to be done this way, or you need to speak this way, and you have to act this way. And to me, that is exhausting. I cannot just say whatever the hell is on my mind. I have to watch what I say, or how I say it, or the tone in which I say certain things. And to me, that's like, yo, like, for real.
Sounds a lot like cultural conditioning. Episode 2 of the Dialogue Podcast.
I mean, it is cultural conditioning, but I don't think so. It's just 101 of how to treat other people.
No, it's conditioning, because that doesn't necessarily apply to everybody. It's however you were raised or taught. Like how they say common sense isn't so common. Some people aren't actually taught to say good morning, good evening, good night.
Really? Like,
absolutely.
See, and this is where
it seems out the norm. But yes,
so
even
people weren't taught polite conversation in school. Like, that wasn't part of the.
For you, is termed as being polite. The way I can say, for the way we were raised, that is being polite. That is what you are supposed to do. Mm-hmm. To the extent of, if I'm walking one way down the street and somebody's walking the next way up the street, if you pass by each other, you greet each other.
You say
that's
hello.
Right. You're supposed to say hello, good afternoon, good evening,
hi, something.
But the amount of people I've come into contact with, or I've even had, I won't say it's an argument, but from me doing that, a disagreement. From me doing that was, you don't even know them. Why would you do that? And it's just like, it's being polite. It's how I was raised to be. I'm not standing there trying to ask the person for their social security number. You just say hello. You pass each other, you say hello. Even if you don't verbally speak, you give a head nod,
a signal,
something,
an acknowledgement that there's another living being that you're walking past. I mean, sometimes I've seen people say hello to dogs in the street, but then the next person that they walk past, their head is down. They don't know.
It goes along the same line of respecting your elders. Some people don't see it as such. By the time I'm an adult, we're both adults. If you don't respect me, I don't respect you. There's no boundaries. There's no lines. There's no. It just is what it is. There's no elders for some people. Same way as even if someone older than an elder, a senior citizen or what have you, is walking somewhere, I'll hold the door open for them. Things like that. You'd be surprised how many people are shocked to see. Or you get up and you give your seat to a senior citizen. Or
a pregnant woman. Or somebody with a bunch of stuff.
So when I can remember even watching, there was something floating around social media, how a younger person, adolescent, was on a bus sitting in their seat and had elderly women standing up, holding on to the pole. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, it stirred up a debate, because you had half of people saying, well, why should he get up? He was there first. And I mean, they don't seem to be complaining. And other people are like, it's polite. Why would you have them standing? And so it's hard to say, well,
I don't even get into those things, because I have been on both ends of that spectrum. I've offered and been like, no, it's okay. And then I'm like, all right, cool, bet, because my feet is tired. I've been walking all day. I'm not getting up. So I don't want to get up. But I've also been on the the position where people are standing and I have not said nothing, didn't even look up because I'm in my world. I'm already planning my day and my steps. Now, usually if that is the case and I know I'm about to get off, then yeah, I will just go ahead and get up and give that person my seat. But if I know I'm about to be on here for 45 minutes to an hour, yeah, sis, you're, I don't know.
It's a part of conditioning. It's not something that everyone is used to.
Right. Well, again, I can.
So the fact that you say that once you get to certain points within yourself, you're thinking, you should say something because of how you were raised by your grandmother. However, the person you have grown to be as an adult for yourself doesn't want to.
Not even that, because it was something that was difficult for me as a child is just communicating with people who are not family. Because I know I don't have to guess how I should act around my friends and family. It is what it is. It's natural. But when you deal with other people don't always perceive those polite actions as polite. They look at you weird. You have to gauge how they may respond before you actually do it. That's something I learned as a kid. So,
which is where I was trying to go earlier to be like, can you pinpoint what possibly, where it possibly stemmed from? It might not even be the same.
Or the anxiety. Because
they play together.
No, I won't go in seclusion because I can't stand people. No, I will not.
We already discussed that. That's not necessarily what I'm asking.
Right.
Because we know that a number of things have to happen and collide for seclusion to come into play.
Correct.
But what I'm saying is, when I was asking, can you pinpoint maybe something that could have grown into where you are now? You just mentioned you don't mind talking to your family because you already know how they're going to act, but you don't know how other people will perceive you. And you learned that from when you were a kid. Mm-hmm. Were you perceived outside of the norm? I know sometimes you've even mentioned you were perceived as being weird and being as a child.
Strange child. I was the girl that talked to the clock. I wasn't talking to the clock. I was talking to everybody within listening distance.
So I'll ask you. I won't answer your questions for you, but would you say that has aided in how you appropriate yourself as you've gotten older, especially when it comes to speaking or dealing with people because of the perception of other people towards you?
Yeah. I wouldn't even say that it's aided. I think, as I've said before, as I got older, I stopped caring. When you're younger, and it's been brought to your attention
that you can stop caring, but that does not mean that it hasn't already laid, I don't want to say roots, but it hasn't already planted a seed, so to say, and however it grows as you get older is how it can grow.
Yeah, I'm sure it has. When I say stop caring is that there's a certain level, it's only going to have a significance to you as much as you let it have a significance to you. So your perception, how you want people to perceive you and how much you care about how they perceive you is only about you. It's only about you because you really have no control over how people are going to see you. It's what you put out and how you feel that you put it out. So if I cared, I shouldn't say if I care or not care, that's not the best way to describe it, but I only have a certain level of how much I allow people's possible perception of me affect how I feel.
Subconsciously as well?
I don't know about subconsciously because it's not something I'm thinking about when it's subconsciously. But I think I have to think about what I say, how I say it when I'm at work, certain people that I'm around, I have to certain family members that I'm around, I have to think about what I say and how I say it and what tone of voice I said it in. Some other people, I don't care. Tell me you don't like what I said. Please, go ahead. I'll tell you how I feel about what you just said. So
with all of that being said, we haven't even really gotten to the point of how to re-enter.
Right. So that's where I was trying to go. By
sometimes
explaining.
you got to go to the past to get to the future.
Yeah. Here we are in present day. What I was trying to say is, what I found when I re-entered into society was, it took me a while, maybe about a year into my job, before I got comfortable enough to engage in outside conversation with my peers. Which one of them is still my friend to this day. But it took a while to get there. Because, I'd have conversation. Here we go with that crazy. I'd have that conversation with myself every day. Like, I'll be, if I manage to be in an elevator with somebody, and it's like, I would think like, oh, things that you would probably say out loud as to start as conversation starts, like, oh, I like your outfit today. Oh, well, hello, you look nice today. Or how are you doing today? Those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To myself in my head. Did not say them out loud. Did not make eye contact.
You'd be surprised. A lot of people do that.
I'm sure. It's just how long that went on. You go into a room, you sit there with the same people for 3 months, for depending on however long your training is. You sit in there with these people, and a year later, you say something to them. A whole year goes by before you finally say, hello, how are you? Mind you, I did eventually talk to people, whoever reached out to me first and said, hey, hi, my name is so-and-so, or hey, do you have a pencil I could borrow, or I forgot this, can you help me?
You are able to have small talk, but you're not being social.
Exactly. It took a while to be social. I even remember how long it took me to actually open up a Facebook or Instagram. And then even on my personal Facebooks and Instagram, these are people who I know. My Facebook account is private. My Instagram account is private. Every social media account that I have is private. So you cannot search for me on those sites unless you. I'm not putting out a challenge here. Believe me.
We have some people that can find
I
you.
am definitely not putting out a challenge here. But, if you come across my SoundCloud, listen to it. It's pretty nice. It's strange, but it's nice. But a lot of things are very private, I know I'm not a social person. I don't take a bunch of pictures. I don't post a bunch of pictures. I don't post a bunch of anything. I don't post unless it's something that's important or strong. I feel something strongly about. I don't post nothing.
At the end of the day, you are okay with being an introvert.
Absolutely. And
that's what counts.
Yeah. I am okay with not being social. I don't like being forced to be social. And with that being said, I would like to say, Marie, I apologize for forcing you to be social, because apparently it has left a mark on your heart. And every time you think about when you met me, you think about this whole forced me to be social.
It's only because like I said, I have no regrets about it. It's only because it seems surprising when people who don't know us personally and can see how to yourself you can be and how to myself I can be, but then to hear, hey, we wouldn't have even met because the introvert kept hounding the other introvert to come out.
that wasn't even the situation. Like I said, this situation did not allow for your introvertedness to remain. It was not going to happen.
And see, I don't necessarily call myself an introvert.
No, you
especially when I was younger,
don't.
I was extremely shy.
That's what we use instead of the word introvert. We say shy.
No, but see, I like to be out and about. I just...
By yourself.
No, I like to be out. And even... Oh, I can do both. But I'm talking about specifically when I was smaller.
Mm-hmm.
When I was smaller, I was extremely shy. Like, they had to force me to do a lot of things. And I think that's just because I was in a way used to just being to myself or being at home.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I was used to.
Mm-hmm.
But then the more I would get, the more I would grow. I liked being out and about and amongst company and amongst everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I still just didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to be a part of.
You're
I don't
an
have
observer.
to talk. Right. I don't have to talk. I don't have to be a part. And I can see how that played into my adult life because a lot of things that I do, whether it's work or hobby or anything like that, I'm the backstage hand.
I agree with that.
I manage everything
And I'm
behind
right
the
next to
scenes.
you.
And I have no problem. You never know who was back there. And I really started to notice it when a certain period of my life I used to DJ.
Mm-hmm.
And
Look at that.
when crazy, right? Like,
the introvert is out there DJing parties.
what's
Look
so
at that.
crazy? I never spoke on the mic. The only times I would
Pause.
is if I
Sorry, my bad. Go ahead. Go
there
ahead.
had to be one somewhere.
Yes.
The only time I would be asked to is, hosting something. They say, hey, can you announce such and such or not?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, no problem. But how most DJs are that people are familiar with to hype up the crowd and to... Never me. I never said anything.
Are y'all ready to party? Not me.
I allowed either my sound bites or my tracks to do all of that. So I didn't have to do it. I would prep at home to be like, all right, if it starts to go down, if it starts to get, the tempo starts to go down, I'm going to hit that
horns.
one, I'm going to do that one. Exactly. And bring it back up. And so many times, there were a lot of people who never knew
what your voice sounded like.
That too. But
I know
the fact of what I was doing or who was running the show. Because if you didn't get there
in time to see you
in
set
time
up.
to see me set up, and if it were an event where you might not see the DJ or the person who's operating the lights or anything like that, you wouldn't know it was me. Because if you meet me outside of these curtains, I don't seem like that person.
And that is what I love about you, Marie.
I have many hidden talents.
Pause on that too. That is what I love. But see, as a person that was like, when I saw you as a child, we were children. So when I saw you as a child, I had a feeling. I said, you know what? That's a kindred spirit over there. She ain't said a word. You don't say nothing.
We went bowling, and I participated. I was there.
Silently.
I participated, but silently.
Mm-hmm.
But my name came up. I got it from the back. I got the ball. I rolled it. I hit whatever pins, and I went back to the back.
Seat, yeah.
And I was good. I had to be a part of nothing until you kind of started to push and nudge to, hey, get to know this person, get to know that person. Oh, this is what we do on Friday nights. This is what we do on Sunday nights. This is what we do here. This is what we do there. Do you want to do this? How about you come out here? How about you do this? Why don't you do that? Do you want to do this? And it was just like, all right.
I'm sorry. I feel horrible now. I feel so bad because now I feel like I was a bully and I bullied you into being my friend, and I feel I did.
No.
You ain't the only one apparently.
No, I don't take it as you being a bully. Like I said, I literally phrase it as one introvert pulling another introvert out their shell.
Again, the reason why I wasn't in my shell is of this atmosphere that we were in is an atmosphere I grew up in.
And that you're familiar with.
And I was familiar with. And I had no other choice because I was, at one point, one of the youngest people in that. I was alone. Mm-hmm. You know, I was the kid. Like, I didn't have...
So when you saw another kid,
when there
you
were
would go
other,
round all
like,
of them up.
Let's get together, people. Let's do this. Because there were so many things I wanted to do as a group, but I didn't have a group because everybody else was older than me. And I was known as so-and-so's little sister for a very long time because everybody was an adult. And then everybody went out to college. And then I was the only child. And I had to do all these old people. And it's very sad. It's very, very hard to deal with when that is your situation. So when I saw kids, I was like a dog when they see a squirrel. Let's go. You know, that's how I felt. And again, I was comfortable enough in who I was. It's when I hear what other people, how other people perceive me, it's strange to me. Because I was like, who are you talking about? Like, my oldest sister, she's like, you were so confident as a kid. I was like, confidence? Is that what that was? Is that how you perceived that? You thought that was confidence? It was just a lack of knowing. I didn't know any better. I didn't care. I was like, I'm a kid, and that's what I'm finna be. Boom. That's it. You saw confidence. Well, sis, she's gone. I don't know where she at. She ain't been around in a minute. That person, I don't know who you thought I was going to grow up to, but that wasn't her.
She's still there.
Yeah.
She is still there.
She pops her head out every once in a while, you know, when I'm not in seclusion.
Okay.
And I'm confident that I'm about to make these moves. Yes, she comes out. I'm still here like I got multiple personalities, which I do, but it's all under control. And then, you know, okay. Remember how you said it's like if people were to see you outside or from behind a curtain, they would know that this was you. Mm-hmm. I think my family sees me one way and the outside world sees me another way. And the two never seem to
be in the same space at the same time.
Yeah, they don't seem to meet. So growing up, it made it a bit difficult because the fearless, non-introverted Tina was at home around her friends and family, saying what she wanted to say, doing what she wanted to do, conversing with her family, just out in the open, and I guess showing the confidence in which they thought that I had. Then there was the one that was out in public, the one that didn't talk unless you talked to her first. The one that quietly liked certain things. The one that hung around multiple groups of people quietly in the background like some kind of weird stalker. In just about every social group there is. I was there. I just didn't say much.
The difference with me was I remained in the background unless I felt... Which was all in my head. Mm-hmm. It was absolutely all in my head. Unless I felt a need to protect. That's the best way I could describe it. And it's been like that since day one. If I had friends that I can see would struggle more than I did, mm-hmm. I would push to do more. So I left my background scene to come into the open to make sure that they were right, they were good. But if everyone around me was
good,
they're out, they're talking, they're social, everything, mm-hmm. I'm in the back.
I would have to say that's the same way, but I think that was because we both have that observant nature, that we observe a situation and we see that there's something that our friends or family are struggling with in a situation, and because we've been observing for so long, we know how to act or react on it and in certain situations. So we know, because if you're not that observant, you don't know that your friend is struggling in something.
True. Not even a friend. It just
or
a
anyone,
person.
a person
Right.
is out there in deep water, just a drowning, and you're like, nobody else sees this. Okay. And then you're like, all right, let me step up and put on this
cape.
Yeah, and save the day or save the situation, or, kindly bring the attention off of that person who's drowning, put it on myself for a bit, let them get over to the shallow side and get on back on shore before we fade back off into the background. I can say you've done that. I've done that.
And with those particular choice of words.
Fading into the background.
Putting on, going to take the light off of them and putting it onto yourself until they get into their safe space. Mm-hmm. Why pick up that responsibility?
I don't know. Because I personally cannot stand to watch people struggle. I hate it. I hate watching cringeworthy stuff on like social media and things like, ooh, I wish they didn't, if I see people struggling or I see people doing something that is like, ooh, that's not going to be a good look for them. I sometimes, depending on how I feel about that person, I might help. If I don't, I just turn the other cheek. I'm not going to watch them fail. I don't like to watch people fail. It's not fun to me. And I think it's mainly because I don't want to be watched failing. I don't want to be left to fail.
Do unto others as you would like to be done unto you.
I don't want people to find pleasure in my failure, so I kind of don't try to find pleasure in others. I don't like it. It is a pet peeve. Like when I see people out there just drowning and they friends are just like, Kiki, it's so funny. I'll be like, y'all are trifling. Y'all are trifling. How you just gonna let your friend out there just, it's funny? Like I don't like playing pranks on people. Like that stuff. Nope. Don't like it. Don't even like watching it. I chuckle, but I think still wouldn't do that to people.
I mean, that can go in a lot of different areas as well. Like you have, saying that reminds me of individuals who, not to say that they are not a part of or want to contribute, but when things are too heavy, especially in like today's day and age with all the things we have going on socially, there's a lot of people who aren't completely aware of a lot of details and aspects of the changes or the lack thereof that is happening.
Right.
But they still find ways to support. They just mention it's too much for them. So they don't get involved.
Right. Like they stay away from certain topics. Like, for example, if I know certain topics are extremely sensitive, like I don't engage in.
And it's
certain
beyond
people, right.
a trigger.
Right.
Because there's a lot of triggers out there for everybody.
Like let's just say there's certain people I will not engage in a religious conversation with. Because some people are not there to listen to different points of views. Some people are just out there to push their points of view, and are not open to other ways of thinking, because this is what they believe and that's it. So those type of people, you will not see me engage in any type of religious conversations with. People also, certain topics like sexuality, won't get into those things with certain people because they're not trying to hear it. They feel how they feel, and other points of view don't make any sense. So therefore, having a conversation with them is not really a conversation. They feel like you're battling them, and it becomes an aggressive argument or an aggressive what's the word? Discussion or disagreement.
Okay.
So there's certain things that I avoid, certain topics I avoid, certain things that I know when people try to engage me, when certain people try to engage me into those conversations, causes anxiety for me because I know where this is going. Mind you, it's because I'm observant of the people that I'm around that I'm not going to say that I've already predetermined what they're going to say. No, that's not necessarily the case, but I can predetermine how
where
you
this
might
may go.
Where this may go, based on your previous responses to other conversations or your mannerisms around certain topics, not necessarily brought up with me, maybe other people, but because I can sit back and say that I find myself an observant type of person, I know that if you ask me this question and I answer it the way that I feel, this is gonna go left.
And here comes the deep waters for myself.
Here we go.
Because
let me go get my floaties.
I understand that. And you have people who, like you said, are exactly like that. I myself, if brought into a conversation or asked something, I will test those waters, because this is the reason why. Because even though I may have observed them not handling another conversation well with someone else, or their gestures towards somebody, earlier that day or what have you, my experience could be different.
True. That is
Everybody
very true.
receives differently and on their own time. It all depends on how that dialogue is built, and the two people who are or more that are having it. So I will test those waters, and as we get into conversation, I see that you have the same reaction as I observed you having, I know to retreat. Because I'm not about to go toe to toe with you.
Right.
If that's what you believe, that's what you believe. That's all right. If you're going to ask my opinion, I'll give you my opinion and call it a day. But I'm not going to persuade you. I'm not going to debate you. We're having a conversation. I signed up for a conversation, not a debate.
And this is where my nope.
But see,
it's like pulling teeth to have. I can say with those people, because there are people in my life that want to have these conversations with me, and I refuse to have these conversations because I'm too anxious. I don't, whether I can perceive where the conversation is gonna go, or if I can't, like I have no idea how this is gonna go, how they're gonna react, how they're going to take it, because I feel like at some point when people who you feel that way about come to you and ask you your opinion, at some point they probably really want to know, and they may or may not be able to handle the answer that you're about to give them. But are you able to handle the answer that you're about to give? That also gives me some type of anxiety. That's why I say interacting with people is not always as simple as just saying what's on your mind, because sometimes are you clear about what's exactly on your mind, or are you just saying whatever comes to your head? Because all of those thoughts should go through your mind before you say them. Like,
Right.
I mean, not necessarily thinking about where the conversation can go, but are you ready to go there? Are
You have
ready?
to be able to receive just as much as you give.
Right. And then you have to be able to, when someone's like asking your opinion on something, and there's probably a lot of things that you've just thought about and have an opinion on, but you can't just say what you're going to say, because then there may be some questions that they might have. And are you ready to elaborate on your opinion, or give some type of factual points that support your opinion, and have a real discussion? Do you have any knowledge about what you're giving an opinion on? Or is this just whatever you've heard, seen, or casually browsed through as life went on? Because a lot of people give opinions on things that they know absolutely nothing about, and can change the way other people might look at things just based on a half-assed opinion.
But I will say that even if they don't have facts to support their opinions, it's still valid, because they are coming from just what they know. And that includes their lack of knowing.
Right.
Maybe that is just where they grew up, where they live, where they this, where they that. That's all they know. That's where having discussions helps and broadens. But it has to be, both parties have to be ready to receive.
To give and receive.
Right.
To give and
to
receive.
have a discussion. If not, you're just having a debate. There is a difference between discussion and debate.
Or disagreement or argument or anything. Because when I say that you have to have some facts or something like that, I don't necessarily, because an opinion is an opinion, right? It's not a fact that we know of. You know what I'm saying? It's what you feel, what you think, based on your personal knowledge or experience or whatever have you. So, but my thing is when you express your opinion, people are going to have questions like, so why do you feel that way? Or how did you come across that? Or what are your experiences that led you to believe that? And if you are not in a place where you're ready to talk about those things, that might not be a conversation you want to have.
I usually tell people, and that's because I use it for myself, if you are not prepared to hear A through Z, it's best not to say anything, because you can't control what the other person is about to say.
Right.
And you can't plan what the other person is about to say.
It's not like a...
So you can throw a fish out there, but don't expect for, or better yet, you can throw bait out there, but don't expect to catch a fish, because you might not. It might not work in your favor. So until you're ready to hear the pro or the con that's about to come out of somebody's mouth, don't ask. Don't say anything. Prepare yourself first. And once you are at that level to say, okay, if I ask this individual this question, they may say this or they may say that. I can handle either answer. Now is the time to actually have a discussion.
Correct.
And another thing to mention is, I mean, everybody's different, and I don't knock nobody.
Right.
Having an open mind, or being able to have various discussions with various people, doesn't have to shift you or rock you off of your foundation.
Absolutely not.
You form and you stand on what it is that you stand on. Just because someone makes point A, point B, point B, it's okay to agree to disagree, and you walk away with your foundation intact. If you walk away and your foundation is rocky, your foundation wasn't intact to begin with.
And then it prompts you to reevaluate what your foundation is built on.
Exactly.
So I completely am with discussions. But I feel like if you're going to have a discussion, you need to be able to give and receive. And you need to be prepared to receive and to give. Some people are not. If I feel, first of all, I want to say that I appreciate every single person that is within my life that I am able to have these discussions with without feeling like I'm being judged. Because unfortunately, a lot of people, they hear what you say and they be like, or okay, whatever, they're either dismissive or you can just feel the judgment and on what you're saying.
You have no idea how heavy a dismissive gesture or sound or look can do for an individual.
Oh, I have plenty of an idea.
I'm just I'm speaking to whoever's listening.
Hopefully there's not a lot of people that have felt that way, but I know that there are people that have been dismissed in their thoughts and probably have felt like it is taking a hit to your person. Like, you're like,
you didn't even finish your sentence
and you've already been dismissed, and it can make you feel like you as a person don't matter. Because all of a sudden your thoughts that you're trying to express have been dismissed as if they mean nothing.
Right.
And I mean, I think that's the worst thing that you could probably do to somebody. And I think those are some of the conversations I've even had with my mother. And I always make sure to let her know. I said, she's like, I know you're not listening to me. And I said, I am absolutely listening to you. I may not make it. I'm receiving everything that you're saying. I'm not going to go back and forth with you because that's not what that's not going to benefit anything. But I'm going to let you speak and say what you have to say, and I will receive it. How I use what you've told me is my decision.
Your discretion.
Right. It's my decision of how I'm going to use it, whether I will apply it to the rest of my life, whether I will apply it to the next 10 minutes, or whether I don't use it at all. But understand that you have been heard, and I will never dismiss what you're saying because you're saying it for a reason. I may not like the reason, but I've heard you.
And that's the thing. That's okay. Nobody is entitled. Well, yeah, some people
feel that way.
I mean, but in all actuality, everybody has that choice. From the time you're born to the time you go, everybody has that choice. You can use it, you cannot use it. Now, the battle to make that choice is a whole different situation to deal with. Feeling as if you have to, or if you don't, then this happens. All of that has to be taken into consideration and put on another platform for another show. But know that at the end of the day, everybody has a choice. You can say yes just as well as you say no, as long as you and your person are okay with those answers. Unfortunately, we are living in a time where a lot of things feel mandated. And you have some people who don't mind being caged in, and you have other people who, the minute they see that cage door closing, they are breaking loose.
Close it in. It's not me. I'm good.
The day we accept the differences that we have, even more so to put into perspective of today's times, we hear a lot of, hey, it's not Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. Which
is such a disrespectful, dismissive ass statement.
Or sometimes you even get the, I don't see color. I like everybody.
What are you, colorblind?
And the thing with that is, you can't only acknowledge somebody's good points. You also have to acknowledge the bad points, because guess what? Good and bad is what makes that person whole.
Right.
All the similarities and all of the differences need to be taken into account. If you're walking around and you only see the similarities, there's bound to be a conflict at some point in time.
Right.
Because once a transition hits or a change hits or something shifts, you're thrown off. But once you can accommodate yourself to learn the similarities and the differences, and you've actually accepted that person as they are,
and you learn to grow along with them, because it's also there. People are constantly evolving, and you have to learn to, your idea of that person or your perception of that person or whatever you think you've known about that person also is going to have to evolve, and you have to be able to accept that,
right?
And accept the evolution or change in yourself and in others, to appreciate the differences in opinion or the differences in personality or the differences of where that person is in their life, and that they're not the same person that you knew back when their life was going like this.
We are forever changing,
ever evolving.
So with that being said, we hope that this conversation was able to shed some light, well, not only on being an introvert and triggers and anxiety, and if you were able to relate or even know someone who is like that, to maybe look at it from a different perspective, have a conversation with them, gain more understanding,
maybe learn how to approach them and have a conversation, since you might know some of the things that might be going through their head when they engage in socialization. That's the word, I think.
Or don't engage.
Right.
It's an open space. At least this platform is an open space.
Yay, open space.
We hope that we have been able to help shed some light on various areas as we have continued through season 1.
Oh, you're bringing it up?
It is slowly coming to a close.
Slowly.
Quickly for some.
Depending on how you perceive this.
It's all about perception.
How your anxiety finna work. Mine is saying, oh, this is quick. It came up on these episodes fairly quickly. Again, I'd like to say thank you to everyone, and I also like to say I appreciate all the people that are in my life that I can have these candid conversations with. Thank you, Marie, for this open space.
Well, you're very welcome, Tina. I appreciate you joining me.
Sorry, my bad.
And for all those who have listened from day one or from today, we appreciate all of the support.
Thanks for stopping by.
All of the feedback.
And like a part from the Elephant Show.
We have 2 more shows
for this season.
Oh, but we coming back
with 2. We need to go into seclusion. Reevaluate ourselves, because we're now at a different point in our lives. We're about to undertake different things in our lives. We're both going to be, stuff is about to change.
Everything
for both
is
of
changing.
us. So
personally,
right,
professionally,
so it's gonna give us an opportunity.
Podcast is on a different level.
Levels to this. Level up. Anyway,
don't forget.
Yes, please don't forget. Keep us in mind. Again, we still have 2 more shows.
We have 2 more shows.
And then we're going to
bid you adieu
and reposition ourselves and come back. And when we come back, we're coming back with,
bigger and better.
Yeah, we have a few
and
guests.
Deeper.
Pause. Boy, Let me reposition my mind now. Yeah, we have, a few people we have in mind to guest spots on here, to guest speakers.
Collabs. We are collaborating.
We have some collabs.
Yeah.
We have some guests.
Uh-huh.
We have some people that we want you to hear from and hear their opinions. And we look forward to getting them on here.
We may even have some visuals. Haven't talked to Tina about that yet, but
she keeps trying to put me on visuals. I'm not a visual person.
Yeah. Neither am I.
I'm that voice.
But there's an empire that is growing from within.
We all know what happened to the last empire.
Don't forget to follow us.
For my Star Wars people.
You can find us on Instagram at The Dialogue Podcast. We are also newly on Facebook. Please, we are trying to get that page going. You can find us there at The D-Pod. Please share, like, comment. We appreciate it. We're even on YouTube.
Yeah, without visuals. On the YouTube for searching the Dialogue Podcast.
Translation, just search the Dialogue Podcast on YouTube.
That was English.
And all major platforms, you will find us there.
See.
So, like always,
stay safe, stay blessed,
stay yourself,
and please have some dialogue. Good night,